Whenever I've raised this, I have been asked to stop talking about this, but I think now is the time definitely to talk about this up. There was a huge amount of political unrest. There was a lot of leftist groups organising. Joshua and others really came to the fore at this time. Hossain was very active.
এই যে গোরস্থানে যারা মারা যাচ্ছে তাদের মধ্যে বেশিরভাগ লোক না খেয়ে মারা যাচ্ছে। সে বলছে যে he says that most of the cases, death cases, are from starvation.
At Janet as well, I teach Bangladesh history. Your work, especially with your Irish background, it reminds me of a spoken word called Famine by an Irish band, and there they talk about the band's called. The singer's called Sinead O'Connor, and there they talk about the forgotten memory and how there was this big gap in people's education and all that, and it kind of fast forwards to this implication where
I draw on other sources, including this book by Muhyiddin Alamgir, which is a very important source. Bangladesh's 1974 famine is considered by scholars to be one of the best documented famines in world history. And yet we don't have much. Certainly, I think even in Bangla, I think there's just not very much written, not very much available for people.
I just wonder, is there any connection between 1974 famine and women empowerment in Bangladesh? Because somewhere I read, in late 1970s, UNDP or UNICEF just launched a project in Mymensingh, some sort of food for work. So basically, at that time, I think it was quite rare that a woman came out and joined in that project. So, is there a relation between 74 famine and this woman empowerment? Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Jodha. An excellent question. Yes, I completely think there is. And Naila Kabir's new book just came out, Renegotiating Patriarchy. And she says that the analysis of the aid lab was very important for her thinking about what were the crisis moments that really created a space for women's empowerment to become seriously considered in Bangladesh. I think absolutely that Food for Work program, in fact I remember interviewing Abhipai about this and him talking about exactly this, that we were shocked, we set up a Food for Work program, we were waiting for the men and then none of the men came, all the women came. Men were not there, men were working, had left their families, and the women nobody expected. And of course this is partly middle class assumptions, right, middle class bias that women will not come out and work. Women will come out and work if they have to, if they're given the opportunities. And this is what happened with that Food for Work program UNICEF and others were running. And I think it also created a shift in the psyche of the ruling class, of the elites, policy elites, which was actually we do need to invest in women, we do need to focus on women. I have written quite a bit about this, and I think it was a turning point, certainly, and you see the divergence between Bangladesh and Pakistan and India on these issues. Women, I wouldn't say, certainly gender equality is far, far from achieved, but we have a.
And then they gave it to the government for aid instead of keeping it and distributing it, because we didn't have the capacity at that point of time. So there are aids coming from Germany. And some from the Soviet Union as well, because Soviet Union needed to have their foothold on the countries who were aligned with the communist ideology. So there were help, but not as she said, it was not enough. And Cold War politics was really nasty. I mean, anybody who's reading his Anna was a 12-inch case, all of them had to really look forward to the ration that was coming in. So these stories are familiar. Probably I am old enough. So that is one thing. So, but I think also the forgetting is a process of having new aspiration to be a different kind of country. So it's not because we were class guilt. I mean, yes, that is there, of course. The political avoidance. I absolutely agree. All that you have seen. But
archive, and I've talked to you more about that, Judy. But I think this question of whether we needed to forget in order to create the mental space to imagine a new state. I think absolutely, and I think it's not that I'm blaming anyone for forgetting, but it's 50 years now. Now we can remember.
Yeah.
Now we can remember. Even 40 years ago, 40 years past, we could remember. Now we should be remembering, because my fear is that generation, your generation, the younger generation, not knowing that history, don't realise why it's so important to have these clunky, expensive, perhaps, food distribution systems in the rural areas, why we need to have OMS, open market sales, why we need to have vulnerable group feeding and so on. A lot of people coming back from America with master's degrees in economics and so on want to have free markets and apps and tech and the rest of it.
Most of the talk, so I don't know if you've covered this already. I'm Shehzad, I also teach anthropology. I was thinking about another possible infrastructural legacy of the famine. Like you said, we talked about the food distribution systems. One of the things that it's a suggestion that I got during my own research, which is that the blockades, difficulty in delivering
So, how do you know about